Manchester United is a social experiment designed to see just how much pain fans can take.
That's it, all over. It is a third Premier League defeat of the season.
Brilliant!
Manchester United, it is 4 wins in a row for Tottenham in all competitions.
They've done everything wrong. 12th place in the league, another damaging defeat at home, and multiple injuries. It's just the sad truth. Manchester United is a crazy joke at the moment.
Roll of the dice, shot comes in, header comes in, goal!
A 3-0 defeat to Tottenham. For context, this is a Tottenham team that was similarly going through a rebuild as well, and when the two teams met at Old Trafford, it felt like a training session.
Oh, and the acrobatic effort!
Erik Ten Hag came out to say the red card changed everything, but the truth is, even before the game, Spurs were dominating. The early goal from Brennan Johnson shows it. It was so bad, the Spurs had an XG of 4.67. That's the worst tally Manchester United has conceded in 258 games over 7 seasons of Premier League football. I'd bet if Sir Alex has to sit through another Manchester United game at Old Trafford, it might just be the end of him. It gets worse if you consider the fact that Erik Ten Hag has been given countless opportunities to rebuild his team. Last season, a lot was made by Ten Hag of the number of injuries he had to key players, and how this ended up affecting the performance of the team. This season, he's been allowed to strengthen, and not just strengthen the squad, they've backed him up by investing in the players he wanted. Joshua Zirkzee, Manuel Ugarte, Matthias de Ligt, and Nusum Mazraoui, all in Ten Hag's books, key additions to the team. Mazraoui, de Ligt, Ugarte and Zirkzee all started the game versus Spurs, and they all looked lost. In fact, taking it into more context, 10 of the 16 players used against Spurs, when you factor in Andrea Onana, Rasmus Højlund, Christian Eriksen, Casemiro and Lisandro Martinez, were all brought into the team by him. In total, the man has spent over $600 million on transfers, his third season at the club, and they're sitting 12th in the league. Forget the title. If they keep this up, they could be closer to the drop than the top. They're breaking all the wrong records now. This 12th place position after 6 games is the joint worst start to a Premier League season. Scoring goals is a big problem now. Only Southampton have a worse conversion rate in the league at 8.33% compared to United's 10.53%. They're creating chances and can't finish them off. Except in the game against Spurs, they didn't create any big chance. The new Manchester United. Looking at the man in general, it's a horror show. Ten Hag's biggest defeats in the Premier League include a 7-0 defeat to Liverpool, a 6-3 loss to Manchester City, and a 4-0 loss to Crystal Palace. He's lost 3-0 to teams like Newcastle, Bournemouth, Seville, and like we mentioned earlier, Spurs. What's the deal? Well, if we're being honest, you can't look past the man. Or can you? In his press conferences for most of last season and the early part of this season, anytime the team's performances was criticised, he kept referring to winning the FA Cup and 2 trophies in his time at United. I mean, yeah, sure, the only previous manager to win a trophy before he arrived was Jose Mourinho. Still, then again, the metric for success with a club like Manchester United has to be the league, and in that aspect, well, they've been embarrassing. Since Ole left, United have had a best Premier League finish of 3rd under Ten Hag. Might sound like an achievement or a good thing, until you dig deeper. They lost 9 games in what seems to be Ten Hag's best season at United, the joint second lowest in the top 6 that year alongside Liverpool. When you look at the goals scored column, their tally of 58 was the second lowest in the top 10 with Fulham. What's the point here? Well, United only finished that high because teams like Liverpool had a drop-off. As proof, in the following season, when the red half of Merseyside had gotten their groove back, United finished 8th, scored fewer goals, finished with a goal difference of -1, and had to rely on winning the FA Cup to get into the Europa League that season. Ask Erik Ten Hag and you'll probably get a response that goes like this.
We are behind City. We won the most trophies in England football, so we are in a very good direction.
Yeah, that's sad. And like I said earlier, it gets even worse. The bad guys, unwanted players for United under Ten Hag, have all left and done better than they did at the club under him. His saga with Cristiano Ronaldo when he first arrived was box office. The two of them didn't exactly hit it off. Ronaldo got benched in the big games and, in the end, CR7 exposed not just Ten Hag, but another aspect of the club that we'll get to later.
I'm not hiding that the empathy with the coach is not good. I'm honest.
You don't have a good relationship with him?
I'm not mean good relationship. The empathy is not good, let's say.
Do you think he respects you?
I think you don't respect the way I should deserve.
He called out the coach and the club. In response, Ronaldo's contract was terminated and he was off to the Saudi Pro League. In that same period, Ronaldo has scored more league goals than any of his replacements at United combined. If that wasn't enough, he came at Jadon Sancho for his lack of attitude in training. Sancho in turn came out to deny what was said and stated that this wasn't true, there was a whole load of drama. I'll tell you what isn't though. You hitting that subscribe button to Football Historia. We break down the best content on YouTube for you. Hitting that subscribe button goes a long way in helping the channel grow, so click it. Back to Sancho now, and at the start of the year, he was off to Borussia Dortmund on loan for the rest of the season and played his part in helping them reach the Champions League final. The club eventually sold him to Premier League rivals Chelsea, and in the 3 games he's played for the club, Sancho has registered 3 assists, more than his tally from his previous season with United. Damn, Ten Hag really made us believe he was the problem. So what then is the problem? Well, for this one, we've got Ronaldo to thank. It's not just Ten Hag, it starts from the top. I mean, think about it. The most successful clubs in the world, teams like Real Madrid and Manchester City, have the best backroom staff controlling the affairs at the club from the top. They make sure everything in and around the club is up to date, providing the players with the latest facilities for training sessions and matches. Let's look at Manchester United. In that interview with Piers Morgan, Ronaldo told the truth. Everything he left at the club in 2009 was the same when he returned in 2021. The same kitchen staff, the same gym equipment, the heck, there were even reports of rats in Old Trafford and a leaky roof in the stadium. Now, there's been the argument that United's owners never cared about the club and just stayed in it for the profit. But going back to how much they've spent again, United has spent a whopping $938 million on transfers. That's $76 million left to hit $1 billion, and this only dates back to 2019. If the owners didn't care that much, I'm pretty sure the argument would have been that the funds to make transfers and get the right players weren't available to the coach. As was the case with Newcastle United under Mike Ashley. But with United here, at least to a certain extent, there's money available to get the right players and run the club. Don't get it twisted though, because we're not saying the owners are off the hook. Having the same kitchen staff and gym equipment since 2009 is wild. The world went through COVID, came back, almost saw Jesse Lingard win the Ballon d'Or, and still have the same dumbbells at the gym? That's amazing. It hurts more when you realize this wasn't the case. In the 2000s and early 2010s, the biggest club in England, and even arguably the world, was Manchester United. Commercial revenue was one thing, but what they did on the pitch? Incredible. Players like Wayne Rooney, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, and Edwin van der Sar, all these guys played for United under him.
FA Cups, 4 League Cups, 10 Charity Community Shields, 1 European Cup Winners' Cup, 1 European Super Cup.
Sir Alex Ferguson, without doubt, the greatest manager in the history of Manchester United. The man changed the club and made them winners. They achieved 3 back-to-back Premier League titles at the turn of the century, between 2007 to 2009. A Champions League title in between, got to the final of the Champions League in 2009 as well, a league title in 2011 and another Champions League final. And in his final season at Old Trafford, Sir Alex left the club with the best parting gift, the league title. Replicating the success of Ferguson would be virtually impossible, but managers like Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho have both come in and tried. There just might be more to it. Then again, you've got to go back to Ten Hag. Every time United has played and lost heavily, he always seems to come up with an excuse to justify the defeat. This time though, there's nothing. He has his preferred 11, the injured players are coming back, and yet they're still playing the same brand of confused football they've been playing for years. In the defeat versus Liverpool a few weeks back, Arne Slot put a huge one in Ten Hag's face. In less than 3 minutes, he brutally destroyed Ten Hag's tactics in front of the world, making it look like he was training with an amateur team. For a club like United to be tactically whitewashed like that says a lot about the club, the managers and the players. The players too have a hand in this. It's one thing to get tactical instructions on how to play on the field. It's another thing to play with those instructions. Players like Marcus Rashford have quite simply not done enough. He's been at the club for 8 years now, made over 100 appearances for the team. He's no longer a youngster, and yet he plays like one. New signings like Joshua Zirkzee and the big chances he's missed so far haven't exactly helped too. He is new, yes. This is Manchester United, and the banter that follows after a poor performance comes with a contract. It felt for all the world that United was going to sack Ten Hag at the end of last season, but they didn't, and many people believe this has something to do with the FA Cup trophy they won last year. However, after this worst start to the season in decades, Ten Hag's time at United might be a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. He's built one of the scariest United teams in the world on paper, and when it gets down to it, it's all just a sham. I bet United fans wish they were having the kind of start to the new season Juventus is having under Thiago Motta. The man has the old lady flying. Click the next video to find out the scary truth about the new Juventus team.